Good morning, everyone. I'm Suzanne from Yarra Ranges Council. I work in the Resilient Environment Department. And with me this morning is Sarah Bond. If you could introduce yourself, Sarah.
Yep. Hi, I'm Sarah Bond. I'm the Climate Action Team Lead. I'm with Suzanne here in the same department and looking forward to our nature journaling session.
To get the most out of this session, you should at least have a couple of leaves from your garden and maybe a flower or two or a sprig of fern or something that you can draw, and a pencil and paper. That is absolutely all you need to participate. So if you don't have those items, quickly run outside and get them. So as I said, what you need for today is a piece of paper and a pencil and a couple of leaves from your garden, a leafy branch or a sprig from a bush. If you've got flowers at the moment, a flower would be great. And if you find a gum nut, a seed pod, I found an abandoned snail shell the other day when I was gardening, so I just popped it up on the fence and went out and grabbed it this morning.
I was just going to say, Suzanne, I've put on my other camera with the examples of what I managed to pilfer from my garden this morning. So there's, a few different couple of leaves. I managed to find a nasturtium, which was lovely. Bits of gum nuts, bit of bark.
And so obviously the reddish one is a flower, is a leaf that's changing colours with the seasons.
It's actually strawberry leaves turning.
Oh.
Yeah. So I thought it was a beautiful colour, so I thought I would take it in.
And it's got a lovely serrated, that will be lovely to draw because it's got that very defined serrated edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also my nasturtium leaf, similarly, very interesting edges on that. And
very prominent veins to draw.
Yes.
So they are good ones. Yeah. I've grabbed what I believe to be a native violet, I think it is.
Oh, yes. Yep.
I believe so, because the flower in it is quite purple, and it has, the reason I've called it is because it's got very defined veins, and it's an almost love heart shape.
Yeah, beautiful.
Kidney? No, not kidney.
Yeah, no, some of the times the violets I think are called kidney weed. So I think a little bit kidney shaped.
A little bit kidney. I do have kidney weed, slightly different though.
Yeah.
So I would like to acknowledge that I live and work on Wurundjeri country, and Yarra Ranges Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri as the traditional owners and custodians of these lands, and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So introductions we've done. We are expecting Hannah Grant from the Gardens for Wildlife program to join us this morning. We're hoping she's going to come along and do some drawing as well. She may pop in a little bit later. Some of you joining us today may already be in the Gardens for Wildlife program, and some of you may never have heard of it. And at the end, we'll talk a little bit about it. The Gardens for Wildlife program is open to anyone who lives in the Yarra Ranges. It's free to join. So we'll talk about that at the end. Anyway, welcome.
Just before we go on, there's been a couple of questions in the Q&A. If you have questions throughout the session, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A. We'll get to them. Thanks, Penny, for saying that she couldn't see who was talking. That's okay. That would be because we have the presentation happening. Whilst we have our drawing exercises, we'll turn off the presentation, so you should be able to see the other screen with the camera.
If you'd like to share your drawings from today's session, we do have a shared Google Drive that you can upload your drawings to. Unfortunately, to use that, you do need a Gmail account. So I've put the shortened URL there, bit.ly/YRG4WNJ, or scan the QR code to the right. If you don't have a Gmail account and you still want to share the photos, you can certainly email them to us at sustainability@yarraranges.vic.gov.au, and we'll upload them for you. We also have a hashtag, #YRNatureJournaling, which you can use on Instagram to use at any time. So what is nature journaling? Nature journaling is the practice of drawing or writing in response to nature. A journal can contain anything from rough sketches to detailed drawings and written observations. And there are no rules, just have a go. And I've popped in one of my favorite nature journaling people, a drawing from her, Paula Peters, and her website is paperbarkwriter.com. And that's an example of a really simple drawing that came out of a walk that Paula did through her, I think it was a forest near where she lives. So why start a nature journal? It can help you connect with nature. It's a great way to switch off from your daily thoughts and worries. The practice of it makes you observe quite closely what's happening around you in the natural world, and you'll start to see things that you never really noticed before. It can improve mental health and well-being. You'll find that your observation skills will improve. You'll start to see lots more happening around you than you ever noticed before. And it can be fun and relaxing. I think one of the key things to not get hung up on is telling yourself that you can't draw. Everyone can draw, and it's a skill that, like any other skill, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I will also say there is absolutely nothing wrong with copying what other artists do to get you started as you develop your own skills. So today's session, which is brought to you by the Gardens for Wildlife program, is about journaling in your own garden. Of course, you can journal anywhere. You can journal down your local park. You can journal in your closest bushland. But today we're going to concentrate on journaling in your garden. And once you decide to journal in your garden, you'll begin to watch the goings on much more closely than you did before. So for example, the other week I was out in my garden. I had my camera. I'm a photographer, so I like to take photos and draw from those photos. And I saw this tiny little fly land on the pole, and I took a photo of it. And when I uploaded it into iNaturalist, which I'll talk about a bit later, I found out it was a boatman fly, which you can see on the right-hand side there. And it's a fat little fly. It's got a really skinny waist, and it waves its wings as if it's rowing a boat, which is fascinating to watch. And up until 2 weeks ago, I had no idea what a boatman fly was. And then I just happened to be sitting out on my back step the other day, and it was a sunny day, and this little tiny fly landed right next to me. And I went, oh, that's a boatman fly, and watched him wave his little, row his little wings next to me. So I had no idea what a boatman fly was, but of course, once I figured out through iNaturalist that it actually was a boatman fly, then I did some Googling and I found out that it's native to Australia. It waves its wings like it's the rowing of oars on a boat. It has a really narrow waist and it walks with wings open. So, if I wasn't out in my backyard observing and looking for things, I could have gone through life never knowing what a boatman fly was. So my point is, you'll observe and record changes over time if you're doing nature journaling in your garden. And if you're part of the Gardens for Wildlife program, or you're just adapting and building on your garden to make it more wildlife friendly, by journaling, you'll notice those changes over time. You'll be recording them. You'll be able to look back. So yeah, highly recommend it. And these 3 drawings on this page are part of my journal, my journaling in my own backyard over the last couple of months. So observing the eastern rosellas, and that they prefer one water dish over the bird bath that's out in the open. The drawing in the middle, just a little magpie that stopped off at the bird bath that is freestanding in the middle of the yard. And of course, on the right, there are a couple of bugs that have popped into my backyard. I've photographed them and then I've sort of learned more about them. So welcome, Hannah.
Hi, everybody. I apologise, some technical difficulties over here.
That's all right. Do you want to just introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Hannah Grant. I am the Biodiversity Rehabilitation Officer, and I look after the Gardens for Wildlife program, which I feel very privileged to do. It's a brilliant program that helps our residents to plant Indigenous species to attract wildlife, and we have an amazing team of volunteers that deliver that program. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Thanks, Hannah. And we will talk about the Gardens for Wildlife program at the very end. So just a couple more examples of journaling in your garden. On the left there is a drawing by Paula Peters, which is a magpie study. She's observed and drawn all the different, views and ways that magpies sort of potter around on the grass looking for bugs and worms. And the one on the right, unknown artist, unfortunately, but an example of, a journal page you might come up with things in your garden. So we're going to move on to the exercises. So hopefully you've got your leaves ready, your pencil and paper. And Sarah's going to lead us through the exercises today. I'm not sure how you want to handle this, Sarah, because we will need to take the...
I think we'll just talk through what we do first, and then we'll switch to the drawing camera.
Yeah.
I'll note for everybody that is following along at home that these will be quite fast-paced, but you can practice these and get better at them in your own time. It's a really good exercise to be able to do and get more familiar with drawing quickly and drawing without necessarily needing to look at what you're doing and do it in minute detail. And you'll have to bear with me when we actually switch over to the drawing camera, in that I haven't practiced for a long time myself, so it will not be a work of art. But for this first exercise, what we are going to be doing is choosing a leaf, hopefully that you've brought from the garden. Once you've picked your leaf, what you're going to do is place the tip of the pencil on your paper, then look at your leaf. So you're going to draw your leaf without looking at your paper and pencil, and you're not allowed to remove your pencil from the paper until you finish drawing your leaf. So I'll just repeat that. So you're going to be drawing your leaf, not taking your pencil off the paper, and not looking at your paper whilst you're drawing it. So I'll switch on my other camera now, and we'll go across to the... Hopefully everybody can see that now. Beautiful. So that's all the leaves that I brought in today. And I'm just going to pick one of these, I reckon. This section. So hopefully everybody can see that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right. So pencils at the ready.
So I've got my, yep. So we're looking at the leaf. We're not looking at the paper. We're allowed to look at the paper just to put our pencil down to start with, right? So we've got our starting point.
But then you're focusing on the leaf and not on your piece of paper. So I will also say that we'll do this probably in just a minute, in 1 minute's time. So we'll cut it off quite quickly.
And our pencils have to stay on the paper no matter what.
Stay on the paper. Yep. All right. Go, everyone. Get started.
Oh, it's so much more challenging than you think.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
See what a terrible Zen I am.
All right, how did everybody go? Look
Oh,
at that.
Mine looks like a Christmas tree leaf, kind of.
So,
So it does.
The work of art.
Oh, yep, you've got your kidney leaves there, Suzanne. Very
Very
nice.
nice.
I do have the general shape right, but all the innards have fallen out of the leaf. Okay.
Mine too.
Mine is kind of there. It's not to scale though.
Yours is all, at least all your innards are inside the leaf.
Yeah.
And Hannah's done quite a good job of,
Yeah,
yeah.
you managed to get keep the innards in the leaf as well.
Just.
Yep. Beautiful. All right.
So
I
I don't
hope
think we
everybody
need,
enjoyed that as their first exercise.
do we have anyone who would like to pop in the comments how they went? Did they find it hard? It's
Or the
really,
Q&A, yeah.
it is really difficult to not look or have a peek, I
Yeah.
find.
Yeah. I was the whole time going, don't cheat, don't look, just focus.
Yeah. I'm trying to show my page, but they're very close. So I was like, don't have a little peek, just keep going. Oh, we've got a couple of questions coming through. Ruth said, hard but fun. I might have cheated a little bit. And then Samantha said, hard not to lift the pencil. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, really hard not to lift the pencil.
Yes, don't peek is the thing. And Jeanette's just said, chat is disabled for me.
I think we do as a standard have chat disabled at the top level of the Zoom webinars. So just pop into the Q&A.
Yeah, if you want to share anything, just pop it through there.
And Karen said, I found it easy to draw the outer leaf, but hard to do the inside. Me too. That's where I went a bit pear-shaped as well.
Yeah, because you lose where you are and you lose where you are in the drawing. Yeah. And I think this exercise is about, and I must confess I don't do this, is being able to sit outside and just look at something and draw it. Yeah. Of course you can look at your paper, which we'll move on to the next exercise. How are we going with Q&A?
So got one last comment. Oh, a couple more. Just Anne-Marie said, fun, not difficult. I just did it. Husband watching, so extra fun. That would be a bit of a laugh, I think. Francisca said, do draw some dots. You need to lift the pencil though. To do some little dots on your leaf. Yeah. Paula said, didn't realize I should do minors, so just have an outer line. Oh, that's okay. We're going to move on to another one with you can explore some more detail. And I'll just read out the last one from Mandy. Yes, I sketched overall shape and then lost where I was for the details.
Yeah.
Oh, good exercise to work on. All right, do we want to do exercise number 2, Suzanne? Do you want to share your screen?
You don't? Yep. So we're using the same leaf.
Yep, don't throw your leaf away. Hold on to it.
Keep your same leaf. So can you see that, Sarah?
I can see exercise 1.
Oh, yes, it is exercise 1, but it's part 2, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. So part 1 is blind contour.
There we go.
As you can see my great example. So we're still in exercise 1, part 2.
Okay, cool, good. I was feeling like I might have gone a little bit mad, but that's good. So as we said, using the same leaf, you'll be doing the same with your pencil, but this time you'll be able to look at your leaf, but you cannot remove your pencil from the paper. So everything must be a continuous line. Sorry if you've got dots, maybe you'll just need to do those very finely. But yes, with this one, it's going to be quite quick, but you are allowed to look at your paper as you draw your leaf for this one. So, all right, everybody ready? Pencils ready?
All right, we'll give it a go.
All right, here we go. Go.
Oh, my pencil just broke.
Oh no. Oh, this is harder than I thought it would be as well.
Yeah,
Thought I
this,
had a-
not
I
being
thought I
not
had
being
a
able to take
plan.
not being able to take your pencil off the page is really challenging.
I know. Just because you get to look, it doesn't really solve all the problems that you have. I thought this would be a bit easier. I had a strategy and it's not exactly going to plan. It's all right. I never said I was an artist when I joined in.
Well, I don't think you need to be an
No.
artist to do this journaling. It's a really good exercise for I find just really observing what you've got around you and actually paying really close attention to.
I have bought a tiny bug inside, so I'm just going to put him back outside.
All right, I've lifted my pen, or pencil.
Me
I don't
too.
think I can justify putting it down again. Look at that. That's beautiful there, Hannah.
Oh, thank you. An improvement on the last one. It's yeah, it's a really interesting exercise. I think as well, no doubt, the more you do, the more it becomes comfortable to just draw without looking and,
Well, I think also
practice.
move quickly with it, because it's that sort of, how did you go, Suzanne? Oh, yep.
Oh, that's good.
That is really good. I can see who's the artist in the room.
Yeah. She's had a little bit of practice.
She has that little
Beautiful. That's really good.
And I find it really interesting when I look at this, because if you had this drawing out of context without the leaf, you kind of go, I think I've drawn an umbrella. A very strange umbrella.
So true.
Or a sea creature, isn't it?
Or a sea creature. Yeah.
Looks like a sea creature to me.
Sort of looks like an anemone.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, maybe. That's what I'm thinking, but
yeah.
Open to interpretation.
Which makes me think of like adding a different detail.
We do have one comment from Karen that she has said she can't see anything on the screen.
Oh.
That
would be.
Oh no, she's just put in. It's okay now. Okay, great, Karen. Glad that you can see and join in.
Yep. So I'm just going to spotlight Sarah's drawing for a minute.
Yeah, that's
my beautiful umbrella.
It's really good, Sarah.
Sea creature.
Sea creature, umbrella, nasturtium leaf.
Were there any finer veins than your main veins? Have you opted not to do finer veins because it was just easier?
I lifted the pencil, and with the rules of not putting it back on, I didn't get to the finer details. But yes, there are so many finer ones. If I actually can see with the light underneath it.
You've done a good job of connecting your leaf. My leaf has some gaps from where I couldn't. I think I was going too quickly.
We're just going to come over and have a look at yours.
I was going very fast, so this was the contour one.
Yep, beautiful.
I think I thought I was.
Can you move it over a little bit so we can see your leaf, or move your leaf over? Yeah.
The shapes. Yeah, it'll be good to do the next one. Get that shape right.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's nice seeing the progression though.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. All right, shall we do this part 3 of exercise 1?
Part 3. Okay, let's swap back to I'm still on the same screen, so just hang on a tick. Screen up. So we're still on exercise 1, but we're part 3. And as you'll see on the right, there's some of mine that I've done previously. So they should actually get better. As you step through them. Well, not necessarily better, they should have better detail, I suppose is what I'm
and with this one you can take your pencil off, you can take your time. So I think with this one we'll actually give you 2 or 3 minutes to draw your leaf and add the detail as you go through. You might find from the previous 2 that you actually like it can help to get the finer detail of, keeping the pencil down for the outer shape, up to you. But this one you've got a bit more time, can lift your pencil, and yeah. When we said at the beginning about sharing your drawings, maybe Suzanne, do you want to just go quickly back to the Google Drive link in case people want to upload their photos to the Google Drive again? And then we can, if people pop them in there, then we can share them. So the Bitly
or the QR code.
or the QR code
Yep,
or on Instagram.
Or Instagram.
All right, I think 5 minutes can start now.
I'll just stop sharing so people can watch me.
And you could spotlight either mine or Hannah's page if you want, Suzanne. That way people can probably see it.
We did have a question from a participant just about the contributors uploading their pics somehow. So we just showed the QR code and the Bitly. You can put it up there. At the moment, we're just able to see live Sarah and mine. So I hope that helps.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've chosen a very difficult leaf.
I think you have, Suzanne.
I have.
I think that's fair because you've had all this practice.
That's right. Yeah, it's better that you had the difficult leaf.
There's definitely all this detail, even in the outline of my leaf, that I never picked up in the first two. It's got very jagged edges.
Well, the other thing that I'm noticing is the color changes across the leaf. Like there's quite a lot of shading that could be done.
Just going to swap over to Hannah's. Mm-hmm.
You're going to get to see my concentration face, which I've been told is quite amusing.
Well, there's a tip. If you want to see your veins more clearly, is hold the leaf up to the light.
Yeah, good tip.
All right, I think 1 more minute on this, and then we'll move on to our next exercise from there.
I think to fully do my leaf justice, the amount of veins in it that start from quite thick veins to, excuse me, thinner veins. Like I could spend hours just trying to draw the veins on this leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the detail.
I feel that as well. I also hadn't really appreciated how much the central veins on mine actually stand out. Like there's got quite a lot of friction.
Yeah, same. That middle vein in mine's really prominent compared to.
All right, I think
And the veins on mine are actually much easier to see on the underside of the leaf, where they're sort of protruding a bit more.
That's a
oh yes, actually I've just turned mine over and it's a whole other world underneath.
Right here, hang on, I'll spotlight yours. Hang on.
That's
Yes.
compared to that. It's like a
Oh yeah. And the colour difference, mine's very pale yellow.
And
the
your leaf has a
underside.
hole in it, Sarah.
I know, I've only just spotted that. I think it's probably through its activities of being drawn, it's been damaged.
Do we maybe puncture our leaf?
So there's my final one. Part
Let's
3.
have a look. Very nice.
So I'll just spotlight yours, Sarah. Thank you. Yeah, so
There's part 3, part 1 and part 2.
cool.
But yes, the veins on it are pretty impressive. Ah, it's almost to scale.
It's almost to scale. So we'll swap over to Hannah.
You can probably lift it up a little bit to.
Yes. Yeah. And so you managed to bring in like that. It's quite a serrated edge of that leaf.
It is, yeah. Zooming on number 3. It is.
And that's only come in when you've got to the one where you can draw the detail, you can look, you can move your pen up.
Yeah, interesting that it's gone a bit smaller than the real, but I did get a lot more detail this time.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, good exercise.
Yeah, really good exercise.
And mine, the pencil I wanted to use broke, so I'm using a thicker pencil than I would like. But anyway, I did get more veiny detail in it.
Can you zoom in on your number 3 a bit more?
Oh,
That's okay. No, that was probably.
No, I can't. No, I can't. It keeps blurring.
That's okay. Oh, there you go. That's better.
Yeah, and we've got some
Nice.
lovely comments coming in from those joining us at home. We've got people noting the patterns within patterns and having loopy veins that are, and then heart-shaped ones and curved lines and scalloped edges of the leaf. So really pleased that people are noticing all of those differences in their leaves at home.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, mine has, like, the more you look at it, mine has a lovely like frill. It's not as serrated as your leaf, Hannah, but it's got a lovely frill scallop. Maybe a scallop is what I'd call it. So what I would like to ask people is, how many people know if their leaf comes from an Indigenous tree, a native tree, or an introduced tree that might be pushing it? But if anyone does know the tree that their leaf came from and where it falls in Indigenous, native, or introduced, pop it in the Q&A.
I can get the ball rolling with that question.
Yep.
This is from a weeping cherry tree that was in our front yard, and it's an introduced species. Deciduous, so it drops its leaves over the winter time. Yeah,
So do you know if that tree has any, does any wildlife visit that tree?
We get a little bit. It is actually going to be removed shortly to make room for an Indigenous garden in the front yard, because we do want to attract more birds into the yard. The most I've seen activity-wise around the weeping cherry is the birds tend to hop underneath and do a bit of foraging underneath. I think it's probably got some good insect life under there because it's quite sheltered. Yeah.
I've just got something crawling on me. I've obviously bought something else in. I'm just going to turn on my camera for a minute. Go have a look. Sarah, if you talk about your leaf.
I can talk about my nasturtium. That's no worries. Well, obviously mine is from my vegetable garden where I've got it growing in amongst the veggies, and very much an introduced plant is the nasturtium, but I quite like them. Obviously the flowers you can eat, and they, I found, have tended to protect other plants because a lot of the things will try and eat the nasturtiums first that I've found so far, which is quite handy. And also the flowers are really good for the bees because I've got bees as well. So that's been quite useful.
Yeah, well, they say having flowering plants in amongst your veggies and stuff is obviously really good for your productivity as well, getting the
attracting them in.
pollinators in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed about them is they spread quite easily.
Definitely.
I had some in last year, three plants. I thought 2 of them had died, so I'd pulled them out, and now they're just sprouting everywhere.
Yeah. They are, I only sowed them once and I've never needed to sow them again, but equally they, like, you can just pull them out and have them where you want them to be. So I'm open to where they end up growing.
I've got a few coming through in Q&A. So Ruth has said hers is a Banksia menzies. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Menzii.
Menzii, thank you. I'm really terrible with my scientific names. Penny said, I picked a leaf with loads of holes. Not a great choice. Well, not necessarily. That'd be a nice picture to see if you want to share. Vivian has an introduced exotic maple tree leaf that she's been drawing. Samantha says, I think it's Indigenous, but definitely native, blue or grey gum. Oh, beautiful. Valmai has an introduced species, an autumn leaf. I'm not sure what type. That's okay. That could be a little afterthought for you. Try and figure out what you've got. Karen's got magnolia. Rosellas and the small birds love it. They are beautiful, the magnolias. Paula has a large maple leaf introduced. It's in the neighbour's yard. Probably the large Canadian maple style. It's not Japanese. Anne-Marie hasn't introduced. We've got 2 more here I'll read out. Pickled nasturtium from Karen. And then Jeanette says, mine I discovered is, Jeanette, you're challenging me here. Lectranthus parviflorus, blue spire spur flower. Not sure where other people are sharing about their leaf. No, just on here, Jeanette. This is perfect. You're doing a great job. We've got a couple more. We've got another native and another introduced. So a bit of a mixture.
Well, it's great that people know.
I know.
Yeah, that's cool.
And if you don't know, now you've got some homework.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to move on to the next exercise?
Let's do it.
Okay, this one's, here we go. Should be sharing now.
All right, so exercise 2. So this is bringing in some of that storytelling piece for connecting with what you have brought in as items today. So what we'd like you to do is to choose one of your items. It could be the same leaf, it could be something else. What we'll start out by doing is spending a few minutes drawing it, and then we'll move on to sort of bringing out more of that storytelling piece and using some starting words or some starting phrases to get you thinking about that and getting those creative juices flowing. So things like, I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, or it makes me feel. So for example, if I was going to pick my nasturtium leaf, I would sort of go, it makes me feel like it's summer still, because that's when they tend to come out and grow really, really like weeds. Prolifically, that's a nice word. I like, when we were talking about it looking like an umbrella before, I could use something like, I wonder what sort of animals or like little bugs and things have used this like an umbrella, like a giant umbrella in the garden for them. And start sort of notating that around your leaf. So it's about just drawing out a bit of a story about whatever item you've decided to draw. So you can see on the example here that Suzanne's done that she's drawn a leaf. It's got lots of spots on it, and she's notated it by saying she notices that her leaf is very spotty and that it's got shades of pink, or that it's got fine lines. You know, it reminds me of sandpaper, obviously quite rough to the touch. And I wonder, you know, what trees it come from. If you don't know what your item is from, maybe that's a really big thing to wonder about. Or how old it is, why it's so spotty, how long it would it take to decompose. How long had it been on the plant for would probably be another one. And it makes me feel happy to live in an area that has a lot of trees. That's a beautiful one. So what we'll do in just a few minutes, we'll probably have 5 or 6 minutes to this exercise. Suzanne, is that? Yep, you're nodding, that's good. So what we'll do is I'll turn my drawing camera back on, and we'll change across to that. And I'm going to pick something that's not a nasturtium leaf. So I reckon hopefully everybody's got that. I can also pop those instructions into the chat and send it around to everyone. Do you think that's a good idea, Suzanne, just in case anybody...
I can do that.
You can do that? All right, because we can send that message out to everyone.
Do just let me know if any noise is coming through at my end. I've got some trades working here today, so apologies if there's a bit of noise coming through.
No, you're fine. All right, I am going to pick this, I think. So I reckon 5 minutes starting now.
Sounds good.
Well, I don't think I can type in the Q&A.
No, you can't in the Q&A, but you can in the chat and send it to everyone.
Okay. Oops.
I've just noticed this is a succulent. Don't ask me what it's called, but it's got like iridescent green in between the leaves. I don't know if that's going to come through at all. Probably not.
But
it's like
cool.
a
yeah, that's
glowy
beautiful.
green. Yeah, this had fallen off one of my hanging baskets out the front.
Oh. Well, I was quite pleased to find this old, like, Clystemin kind of tea tree, I suppose, flower end. I don't know, but it's got it's covered in like mossy lichen on one entire side, which I was
stunning.
I was so impressed to find that. I don't know if that comes through in my drawing.
I picked this before I knew the activity, and I seriously thought about putting it back because it's going to be quite challenging. But then I thought, rise to the challenge.
That's it.
I have a snail shell that stuff is still falling out of. It's empty. No one lives in it. But
I found a snail shell, but it looked like it had a spider living in it. So I thought I would leave them outside.
Nice choice, I think. Maybe that was the vessel for bringing all those things in your house, Suzanne.
Yeah. I hadn't quite registered how long I will probably need to spend on getting some of the detail on this, but that's all right.
Yeah, I am just thinking that too. I'm probably, if I keep going this slowly.
Yep.
I would
say that I think this one's less about getting the detail in the drawing and just getting the drawing down, but then contemplating answering the questions.
True. Good job. Refocus us.
Yeah.
Always liked this plant, but now I've got a bit more appreciation for it, seeing it up close.
Yeah, I've never really thought, like, looking at this this, I suppose, nut, for want of a better word, old flower stalk. I'd never really appreciated how many flowers were on it and how like everything's quite concentric and orderly. But then at the same time, you look at it and it doesn't look like that.
Yeah, it's amazing how many little, obviously there were so many flowers in there once upon a time.
Yeah.
Did you say it's like a callistemon or something?
Yeah, yeah, some sort of bottle brush. I didn't plant it, so I'm not actually aware of what particular variety it is. It's got bright orange ones, which are absolutely beautiful when it's in.
Oh, wow. It's a lucky colour to have landed.
Yeah.
I've got a callistemon in the backyard, but it's the red, which is still very beautiful, but you do see a lot of them.
Yeah.
At least in
All
our
right,
state, they're everywhere.
ladies, I'm going to push you along. You should be starting to write your I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of.
Oh, okay.
This one's less about the drawing and more about observing.
Easy, I'll do that now. Okay, so
Oops.
All right, one more minute, I reckon. How are you going, Hannah? Are you done?
yeah, almost. I was going to try and do one of the I wonders, but I'm pondering.
Okay, one more minute to ponder then.
Please just excuse me for 1 second.
Whilst we wait, I'll just do one more. Beautiful. My writing's upside down. That's all right. How did you go, Suzanne?
Well, I didn't spend a lot of time on my, sorry, no. I didn't spend a lot of time, sorry, I can't quite get it right, on my
On your
snail
shell.
detail. It's a very basic snail.
Yep.
But there's my snail shell that I found in the garden the other day. It's quite whitewashed.
Been there a
Um,
while.
So I only got around to writing 2 responses because I was busy spotlighting. That's my excuse. So I noticed dirt is falling out of the shell. It's all over my desk. The shell looks quite whitewashed, and the spiral becomes very small at the center. In fact, if I was going to draw this in more detail, I would probably use a magnifying glass to see the detail.
Okay. Yeah.
And I wonder what happened to the snail. I wonder how old the snail was. I wonder if the snail ate my plants. And I wonder if the snail was born in my garden.
Oh,
And that's all I got down.
Those are some good musings. I like that.
they are very imaginative. Very, very imaginative. How about you, Hannah? What were your musings and your
So I'll
thinking
just
about
try
your
and line it up so that we can see. So I enjoyed sketching this one, and I sort of said, I noticed a fluoro green color in the leaves. It makes me feel awe and wonder at what nature can create. It reminds me of colorful fish that I saw snorkeling in Thailand, and I wonder how the fluoro color appears like that.
beautiful. Oh, yeah, beautiful drawing as well.
Yeah, that one was fun to draw, actually.
Lovely. Well, my one, I didn't actually get to the it reminds me of, so apologies for leaving that one out, but I have written down that I have noticed that there is moss growing on my flower stalk, old flower stalk, and that it would have had a lot of flowers given how many holes there are, and that it is quite old, most particularly given it's got moss growing on it. I wonder how long ago it flowered, if the seeds have spread, and if any insects have lived in it. And it makes me feel happy to have such a beautiful plant in the garden.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's a nice one. I'm just going to check Q&A as well, see if we've got some comments. So Jeanette's written a nice paragraph here. She said, my dead gum leaf, I noticed lots of tiny bumps on the surface and it almost has a plastic quality. I wonder if leaf material could be used for biodegradable packaging. It reminds me of the feel of old skin and also of vinyl. It makes me feel grounded and connected to my home and country, and it feels peaceful drawing it. That's really lovely, Jeanette. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Penny has written peppercorn branch. Smell invokes so many memories. These take me straight to my childhood farm. Peppery sweet. She's such a lady, weeps into the garden, very graceful always. You make me smile. The reason I bought the home I live in now. My connection to living among the trees in the past. That's really lovely too. It is amazing how items, smells, textures can take us back to another place. It's lovely, Penny. Thank you.
And sounds, actually. This morning when I was out the front, and the magpies were warbling in the trees out the front in the gum tree, and the sound of those always takes me back to Easter in a caravan at Echuca every year, waking up to those magpies just warbling out, in the trees above the caravan.
Yeah, it's lovely to let yourself travel back somewhere. Yolanda's got nasturtium. I noticed the leaf within the leaf, and I think about its being an umbrella. I wonder if frogs ever get sick of rain. It reminds me of Pocket Herbs, a place I worked. It makes me feel like getting home to my veggie garden. I had a thought like that yesterday, actually. I was watching some galahs sort of forage, and it was drizzling and the weather was pretty horrible. And I had a thought similar, just thinking, how do they do they like the feeling? Like, they must be wet. And I couldn't think of anything worse, but they were living their best life foraging for their food. So
I think they have to keep going or they starve.
this is true. Sarah, do you want to help me out with the pronunciation on this one Bruce put up?
My Gulchenaltia.
I'm putting you on the spot. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce that either, but she's written, I noticed the small pink flowers haven't opened yet. I noticed the bigger flowers have beautiful insides with stigma stamens that are dark and star-shaped. There is also a hint of lime inside the pink. It makes me feel happy. I've persevered, beg your pardon. She's persevered with growing it ×3. I wonder how it looks in its Indigenous home and what feeds on it. There's some great thoughts.
Yeah, beautiful.
And things that can be researched later and popped into your nature journal.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of just the first step of observing, and then, you know, it's okay to go off and research on Google and fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Because this is just the start of the journey, which will always prompt more questions, and whatever means to get the answer works. So how we go? Have we gone through everyone's comments? Will we move
There's
on?
one more. I'll read out one more if you like, and then we'll move on to the next thing. My yellow hypokalemia is so delicate and has been in bloom for several months. It reminds me of the hidden beauty of nature, so subtle and delicate. 4 little flowers at each point, all at different stages of opening. I do apologise, everybody. I don't think I'm pronouncing any of those words right, but those are really beautiful musings you've made on your item from your garden. So thank you for sharing.
All right, so we'll move on to the next exercise.
Sounds good.
Which is going to be a fast one.
Yes.
Oh,
Again, it's a 3-part. It's a 3-part exercise.
very challenging.
I actually wish I'd saved my nasturtium leaf. I feel like this would have been the perfect activity for it.
What do you mean saved it? What have you done with it?
No, as in I'm going to pick a different thing just for variety's sake.
Yeah.
I picked rosemary, and the whole time smells so good.
Yeah, I
So,
picked
do I need to do the 10 seconds? Hang on, I need a timer while you're getting
a
ready.
stopwatch. Yes, if you could be timer, Suzanne, that would be great. So you're going to kick us off. So everybody following along at home, just for your information with this exercise, there's going to be 3 different parts to it, and they're all going to be timed. So this is going to be fast-paced, get the energy up, the speediest drawing you've ever done. And Suzanne's going to give us a stop and go, or go and stop, the other way around. And then we'll draw for the first one is in 10 seconds. So Speedy Gonzalez, pencil hand ready. Suzanne, when you're ready, give us a green light to go.
Oh gosh, okay. Hopefully I've got this set up right.
No pressure.
So 10 seconds is all you're going to have. So ready, set, go.
Oh my God.
Pencils down.
All right. I managed to get 1/3 of my strawberry leaf in.
I got my flower head, and that's it.
Okay. Beautiful. All right. Part 2.
Part 2. You're going to have 26. So same item, but you're going to have 20 seconds this time.
Yep. And don't work on the same one. You've got to start again.
Oh yeah, you're not adding to the one you drew. You're starting a new one.
Starting a brand new one. So are you ready again, Suzanne? You're going to give us the green light. Everybody ready at home?
Ready, set, go.
Oh, the pressure is on. Oh dear, my flower looks a bit special.
Pencils down.
Oh,
Oh,
so much pressure.
it is challenging, that.
It is. It is. All right.
Let's see if we've got any
Part
comments.
3, Suzanne. Part 3.
So part 3, you're actually going to have 1 minute. So let me just get my little timer set up. So you're going to have 1 minute to draw the same item again. So
Again,
hopefully-
starting from scratch. Starting from scratch.
Hopefully by the time we get to the end, hopefully, well, who knows, your 10-second one might be better because you didn't think about it.
That's true.
Yeah,
All right.
I assume we don't want to think that we've got all the time in the world now. We probably still don't.
A minute
No.
isn't that long. So ready,
No.
set,
Yeah,
go.
ready as I'll ever be. Just noticed 2 things that I've done there. I stopped looking because I know there's 5 petals, so I just drew them. So they're not going to look like how the flower is actually laid out. And these leaves are like sausages. They're really oblong, like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I have noticed that I am not paying enough attention to detail, which may or may not be a good thing. I'm not sure. Because I went from drawing.
Pencils down.
Susan, it's like,
So-
stop your talking, you've got to be drawing.
Multitasking was not switched on.
I imagine the minute, well, it seemed like you felt like your minute that you had forever to keep drawing.
Yeah. Do you want to just stop sharing your screen, Suzanne, and we can
Oh,
show
sorry.
our cameras to everybody?
Sorry, peoples, I thought we were sharing. Okay, so let's go over to Sarah's.
I got a bit ambitious with the 20 seconds. So I started out with this strawberry leaf. I just drew this one. And then the 20-second one, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and get both in.
Oh,
And
wow.
then for the 1 minute, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to the whole spending detail on this one, and then like got most of the way through, and then was like, I don't know how much time is left to actually finish what's here. So then it looks almost no different from the 10 seconds. So
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking that myself. I just didn't want to say it was beautiful.
no, they're all pretty rough.
Impressed by the 20-second one.
Yeah,
To
you
get,
did
to
well.
get 2 leaves down.
I feel like that was actually better, like a lot easier for whatever reason than either of those 2.
Yeah. No, you did really well to get 2 down. Very nice. I'm glad I didn't choose the same thing. I've got a strawberry leaf too.
Ah, cool.
I went with a little, this is a native actually from my front garden. I can't recall the name of it right this second, but it'll come to me. That was my 10-second. Just got the
Yep.
flower head in.
Yep.
20 seconds. I got just the flower head and a couple of the leaves.
Yep.
And then that's the minute.
Hey, nice.
So I think I did get better with, with time.
Yeah, and you're starting to bring in a bit of shading too, so it's got depth and definition.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that even at 10 seconds, you can create a recognizable drawing within 10 seconds.
Yes, Ruth, it is a Croia. Thank you. Yeah.
I love that. I love the comment from Faith, which is note to self, don't make the drawing so big. I feel you there, Faith. I am the same. I feel like I was quite ambitious with my strawberry leaves, trying to go for scale. Bad idea. Suzanne, how did you go? Did you draw along with us? Or
I didn't draw. I was timekeeper.
Okay. I just thought I'd check. You never know. You might have tried to do both.
No.
And that's no problem, Penny. Oh no, Penny says, sorry, I picked up a gum nut flowering thing. Interesting, what you think becomes the most important with the longer time. That's true, yeah.
That your priorities of what you want to convey through your drawing would differentiate given what time you have. And if you know you've only got a minute and you can't draw it all, what are you going to concentrate on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this exercise in that if you're like me who likes to draw a lot of detail and have everything correct, it's good to be able to just get something down on paper sometimes and not think too hard about it.
Well, I think also it's a reminder that you can do the detail later. If it's something is time sensitive, you know, you've only got a few minutes to draw something, like you can actually do things quite quickly. You don't need to have it absolutely perfect.
And you can start your drawing outside, but you can snap a photo, because I'm big on taking photos and drawing it later. You can start your drawing outside. You might not have time to finish it. Take your photo of what you're drawing and then fill in the detail and paint it or whatever you want to do later on.
Yeah.
And Karen has made the comment, great to see the development from 10 seconds to 1 minute. I agree. Really interesting.
Good to do them so close together and fast paced.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to the last exercise, which might be a little bit, well, it's meant to challenge people a little bit more. And for this one, I'm going to need to leave the screen up as well.
I reckon we could, oh yes, I see.
I do need to leave the screen up for this one. Yeah.
Yep.
So this one's moving on to wildlife. We've kind of concentrated on flora in your garden, but of course, you know, if you're creating a garden for wildlife, then hopefully you're seeing lots of critters and creatures stopping by in your garden. So take this one away, Sarah.
All right, so this fourth exercise is a bit longer. So we've got up there 5 minutes, but we'll see how we go. In this one, we want you to choose either a photo of your own or pick one that is on the screen and draw a sketch, a likeness of whatever it is that you have decided to draw. And then we want you to write about it, using those same statements as earlier. So I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. And with this, there are no rules. So you can take this wherever you want. You can be as creative as you like. So you could, for example, look at the skink on the right-hand side and go, I wonder, you know, where his family is, how old he is, you know, where is he on his way to? Maybe you could write a bit of a story about whatever the animal is that you've picked. You know, it reminds me of, use those sorts of prompting things to write a bit of a story and get more involved with the nature that you're using as your inspiration. So just a reminder, you can use any of the ones that are on the screen, or you could pick your own if you've got some to hand. So again, we've got a bit longer with this. Suzanne's going to leave these photos up, so if you want to use those for inspiration. If you've also brought some coloured pencils along and you want to add a bit more colour or detail to it, you can do that as well. So I think, Suzanne, are you going to time this, or are we just sort of going off a rough 5 minutes?
No, I think I'll do a rough 5 minutes.
Brilliant. Okay.
I think it's important not to get, they are a more complex image. Don't get hung up on that. If you're not comfortable drawing at this this level, just choose the writing option. Just go with the I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. But likewise, it doesn't have to be a perfect drawing. You can scribble drawing, anything.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I reckon we might get started. So pick your animal, pick your photo, or pick a story, whatever you want to do. And your 5 minutes starts now.
I've had the motto of pick a challenge, so I'm going to try and stick with it. But I have
Has that been this entire session for you, Hannah?
Yes, it's the theme. But why not, hey?
Well, we only live once.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's already off to a very interesting start. Yeah, no, my bird's got a very weird mouth. That's okay.
And I haven't brought my eraser with me, which is proving challenging.
I did bring my eraser with me, even though I probably should be trying to take on the lessons from our session and do it in one and do it quickly and not be worried about
Not
the
think
detail.
too much. Yeah, I think that is like we've got to learn from this, don't we?
Yeah, detail can come later.
Just that I'm going to start adopting that right now.
Just get the shapes in.
The shapes in, yeah. I reckon that's half the trouble sometimes. You overthink it.
Well, and I think something I found, because I do in my free time and when the inspiration hits, will do paintings or drawings and things like that of animals that I've seen when I'm traveling. But I agonize over it. It takes such a long time, which in itself can be part of the exercise in itself. But you can fix things as you go along, because your first perspective on things isn't always right anyway.
Yeah, well,
So,
that's right, isn't it? Yeah, I've got a, you know, Suzanne, you're reigniting an old interest. I used to draw and paint a lot. And I don't know, life, I guess you say, oh, I'm too busy, and you just don't make time for it. But it's such a mindful activity.
it is. It really is good to, I suppose, disconnect and getting into that that mindset of really being inspired and making things up and being creative is so good for you.
It is, yeah. I think when you're drawing, you sort of switch off and you don't take note of everything that's going on around you. And given that I'm 28 weeks pregnant, I should definitely try that more. Well, I can. I'm going to try some colour. Feeling ambitious.
Yeah, I'm doing the same. It's sort of a bit weird and wonderful to kind of get into the colour space. I have picked the wrong colour, but that's fine.
Maybe it's just the colours that you see in your mind's eye.
No, I haven't tested them, and I'm just going hell for leather on it. It's going to get whatever colours come out.
As someone who is a drawer, I must say even this is challenging me.
Yeah, and you've done a bit of practice too. It is
but normally I would sit down and take time and write out stuff. I do quite often have trouble with proportions, which you will see with my bird when I show it.
You know, I really needed a sharpener too. My pencils are clearly haven't had them out in a while. That's all right.
I clearly need to become more familiar with which colour is which on my painting palette.
Oh, you're painting, beautiful.
You've got time to paint?
I've got my watercolour out, Suzanne, my delightful watercolour.
I was going to ask, are you a watercolour girl?
I have become one since the first nature journaling session.
Ah, cool.
I was inspired, and it is actually one of the best things that I've ever got.
Yeah, I've always done acrylics, but I really want to try watercolour. I bought a pad.
I'm the same. Yeah, I'm normally acrylics, but this is just so easy.
I actually want to, now I really can't wait to see yours.
I wouldn't get too excited.
Yeah.
Now, how are we going? I reckon we've probably only got 1 more minute or 2 more minutes.
I reckon it's about 1 more minute.
This is
quite highly likely that people won't finish in that time, but that's fine.
I get too chatty.
Yes.
I think one of the points of this exercise is that it's quite okay. Like some people might like to sit outside in nature and draw, but animals don't sit still.
No.
So if you want to draw wildlife, you probably need to work from either other people's photos or when you're out in the garden, snap a photo and then draw it later.
Yeah, totally. They definitely don't stop for anybody. Especially birds, very, very challenging. Fast moving.
Well, insects,
Even
the
worse.
level of detail and legs and antennae and all sorts of stuff that insects have can make them quite challenging to draw.
Yes.
But another challenge is, can you draw them but simplify that drawing? You don't have to draw all the detail.
No, you can kind of just fill in the gaps later. Just get the bare bones down.
All right, so we're going to finish up with that one.
You want us to share
So
what
I'm
we've
wondering how
done?
everyone went at home. I'm going to show mine. I would say, whoops, there it is. Whoops. How's
Oh,
the golden?
Oh, look at the bird. That's cool.
The golden whistler is
Yeah.
not quite proportioned correctly, but I have to tell my inner voice to stop criticizing it. It is what it is. Of course, if I'd spent an hour drawing it, it would be quite a different drawing. It's not to say it would be a better drawing. It would just be a very different drawing if I spent an hour on it.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Don't criticize yourself because
It's very difficult not to, but sometimes I will just put down a drawing that my little brain's going, that's not so great, or I'm not happy with it. And then the next day I'll come and look at it and go, yeah, that's pretty good.
yeah.
So if you're frustrated with it or you feel it, you're not quite getting to where you want to be with it, step away, come back and look at it another day. So let's have a look at Hannah's. I'm just going to spotlight
So
Hannah.
I was doing the golden whistler as well. I'll turn up the right way.
Oh, cool. You've got colour in.
Oh, look at
and I
that.
just
That's awesome.
Started with some color. Yeah.
Nice.
But the beauty of drawing is you can come back and you can add and you can shade, and that can change how you look at it as well.
So over to Sarah. Oh, yes, I wish I drew this one, Sarah. I think it was easy.
I picked this one because it had the simplest forms, which or that I saw was the simplest forms. I was actually just reaching for my fine liner to get some of the detail in around its face and feet and things. But yes,
I love the shading you've done on the forelimb. That's really nice.
And you got painting in that 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, this is where this beautiful watercolor pen and set come in. It's so easy to just get some color in, which lets you do that shading so simply.
It's really good. And you made a comment about the lizard.
I did. I said, I wonder how old he is and if he's enjoying the sun.
Oh, wouldn't some sun be nice?
Oh, it would.
So have we got any comment? How did everyone go at home? Does anyone want to comment?
Jeanette's written a couple of comments. It's delightful. How did you get such beautiful colours so quickly? And a watercolor pen set, ? I also had that thought. There's a pen set.
So I don't know, Suzanne, if you want to share your screen again, but I can show people this very quick set that I've got here. So it comes with a watercolor pen paint brush. I don't know what the correct term is. I'm sure it's got a technical name, but this is full of water. It's got a paintbrush on the end, which is
cool.
And then all of these, I won't close it because some of them are wet. And this is where I went, that's not the color I wanted, but I'm using it anyway. So some of them came out a bit more strongly than I was expecting, but this is, there's the other browns. I was looking for them. So it's got a whole
beautiful
and a palette, and it's got a thing to mix it at the bottom and a sponge to clear your brush off, which
that is so cool. And I assume a bit less messy than your standard painting sets.
Yeah, well, I always struggle with watercolor pencils because I get a bit heavy-handed, and so I'll like really do some heavy lines, and then trying to paint them out later I always struggle with. So when I've had this, it's just been one of the simplest things for me to get into the watercolor painting. And when I do fold this down, oh, it should be dry by now. I'll show you that this goes down to almost nothing. So
Very
if you're
compact.
wandering around,
That's brilliant.
it's
Super easy to take out and
super easy to carry with you.
paint outside if you want to
Good.
paint outside.
Yeah, I love that. We've got some really great comments coming through, so I'll just read a handful of them because I know we've got a little bit of information we want to provide as well before we close out the session. Samantha Lewis said, I love this. I drew an echidna who was on my front doorstep recently, a bit ambitious with all the detail. Oh, but imagine if you kept working on it, Samantha. I'd love to see that. So cute. Who doesn't love an echidna? Penny made the comment, it's a great tool, better than pencils. Yeah, I agree. I think like I was using my Derwents and I love my Derwents, but pencils are really hard to get the shading, like the watercolor blends so well.
And
Pencils can be
quickly.
quite
I
hard.
think that's the other thing. Like we had 5 minutes to do that and I could color the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm amazed what you got done in
Brilliant.
5 minutes.
Mandy asked where you could buy it.
Well, so I got this from, there's an art shop in Bayswater, but I will say I have seen them come up in Aldi when they do their artwork sales, and they have pencils and textures and paint equipment. I've seen it in there. So, but also you can get them from most art shops.
Yeah, I reckon Arts Riot would have something like that.
There is, as Sarah mentioned, there is an art shop in Bayswater. I can't think of its name, the art store or the art shop. So I've got quite a different kit. It is quite small though, but same deal. It's got the water pen in it, the little sponge, the little palette. But honestly, to get started, I started with just a children's paint set from Officeworks that costs $12. So just start with something cheap and then work up to
whatever
yeah,
or level or a piece of equipment you want.
I wouldn't even put it past Kmart to have things. They seem to have everything.
Yeah.
Ruth said, I did a lorikeet. Sorry, I've got a sneeze like right there and it just hasn't come forward. Ruth said, I did a lorikeet. I wonder how they spend their days, what they eat. I noticed how balanced and symmetrical the colours are across their lovely bodies. They are a spectacular bird. I often look at them and think, how did nature make a rainbow bird? Like, it's pretty amazing. And you think they're so colourful, but if you look up in a gum tree and you're trying to see them, sometimes it's not easy. You think they'd stand out and they don't always stand out. It's amazing. Yeah. I think you could wash the palette, Jeanette, after use to keep
I'm going to interject here because this is something I had to learn. I am so proud of my dirty palette because I'm someone who likes to clean things, and from what I've learned is it's best to keep your palette dirty and then you just put a bit of water in it and then start reusing those colours again. So if you can learn to be messy, that's the best way. And you're not wasting paint either.
There you go. Amazing.
All right. So is there any more? We probably need to
Yolanda wanted to know what it was called. I think there's a few brands that you probably can purchase.
Yeah. For the one that I've got, it's called the Compact Palette. It's a compact palette set for watercolors.
Does it have a brand, or is that it? That is the brand.
It is JASART, JASART.
Oh, that's a well-known brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Hope you enjoyed the drawing exercises and hope that starts you on a long journey of journaling. So we're just going to go through some inspiration to help you on your journal journey. So just a couple of journal ideas we're going to go through. One is to map your garden. So the one up on the top right is one that I just quickly did focused on my back garden, just looking at the different areas that birds might stop, the water dishes, etc. So map ideas for your garden could be the features that make it wildlife friendly, like I've done in mine, flowers and who visits them. What about doing a bird's eye view? You know, if you're a bird flying over your garden looking down, what's a bird going to see? And another interesting one down the bottom right is creating a sound map. And with a sound map, you can do this anywhere. You can do it in your backyard, down at your local park. And to do a sound map is you put yourself in the centre. So this artist here, Bethan, she's just drawn herself as a cross in the centre, but you can draw yourself. And then she's done a combination of drawing and writing what she can hear around her. So you sit quietly in your backyard, you close your eyes, and then you listen to what are the sounds that you can hear around you and in what direction are they. And so that could be a really fun activity. Of course, you're going to not just hear natural sounds. You're not just going to hear birds, and unless you live right out in the middle of nowhere. If you're in suburbia like we are, you're probably going to hear, you know, trucks going past, lawnmowers, all sorts of stuff, but include them in your sound map as well. But if you are in an area that has a lot of machinery and man-made stuff happening, try and see if you can really dim that part of it down and then hone into what are the bird sounds or the crickets or the buzzing of bees in summer. Can you hear those sounds? Other journal ideas are to choose a theme. So, you know, a journal page there down the bottom is one that I did a couple of weeks ago. It's got the boatman fly. I've only just learned this past year that ladybugs have like 4 life stages. I saw this weird and wonderful creature that looked like a tiny crocodile, and I didn't know what it was. And apparently it's a ladybug in one part of her life journey, her or his. So choosing a theme could be birds that visit my garden insects, backyard pollinators, trees, having a closer look at the trees on your property, how they differ from one another. Leaves, leaves and flowers we've looked at today. Seeds, if your garden has a lot of different seeds or pods, like this person up on the right-hand side here, Patrick Green, he's sort of done the seeds of summer. Pests is another one. Most of our gardens have pests, so you could do a page on pests. What about the different seasons? You know, that could invoke quite interesting journal pages, looking at what summer in your garden. Right now is fungi season, so pretty much most of us might find a piece of fungi in our garden, no matter where we are. I know I've got fungi in my garden. I'm in Croydon South. And weeds. Weeds is another one. Why not draw your weeds? So the possibilities of journaling are endless. Give it a Google and you'll see so many ideas. So I'm just going to go through some examples that other people, these ones are getting into a bit more of the detail. So Bethan on the left here, she's looked at a callistemon. She's looking at the leaves and all sorts of the callistemon.
It's beautiful, isn't that inspiring?
Yeah, that one's lovely. And like I can see a callistemon tree out my window. So yeah, so that's ideas. If you're a detailed person, then start looking at something detailed, which we've kind of started with today, but take that further. So tips and tools. Take photos to use as reference, which is something that I said earlier. Bugs and birds don't stay still for very long. So if I will quite often spend time out in my backyard taking photos, and then I use those photos for drawing. And so on the right, there's an example of, you know, this one is in my street. I was walking down my street. Blue-faced honeyeaters are not common in Croydon South or this far south. So I happened to just snap it, and then there's a page for my journal. then I started to get into writing, what that experience was. Use iNaturalist to help you identify the species visiting your garden. I won't go too much into iNaturalist, but it's a citizen science app. You can download it to your phone or you can use it through a browser. And it's great. It's so easy. You upload a photo like that one on the right and it will identify it for you. And that will help you just go to that next level in your nature journal, because now you know what the species is, then you can start Googling information about that species and include it in your journal. I keep a collection of leaves and items that I find, and this will include feathers and gum nuts or all sorts of weird and wonderful things that I might see out on my walk. But likewise, you can just pick them out of your garden, stash them inside. So if it's a rainy, cold day like today, you've got a collection of things for. As we were just saying, you need expensive art tools. Just start with cheap items and invest later if you want. And find inspiration online by searching nature journaling. There's so many great examples. And like I said earlier, don't be afraid to sit down and copy someone else's style, because that will help you develop your own. Resources and inspiration. So one of my favourite nature journalists is Paula Peters, and her website is paperbarkwriter.com. And what I love about Paula's is she does more intricate drawings, but she also does little cute cartoony drawings, which are really quick and simple to draw. So she also has a free ebook at her website, which I've just shown there on the right, and you can download that ebook to get you started. Another one I just found recently was journalingwithnature.com. I believe that woman is an Australian woman. She's the one that had drawn the callistemon we saw just before. If you really deeply get into nature journaling, John Muir-Laws is the way to go, although I find his work a little bit daunting. It's really taking it to the next level. And of course, Google nature journaling, you'll find so much. And over to Hannah to just, so if you're not part of the Gardens for Wildlife program, which is this webinar was brought to you today by the Gardens for Wildlife program, Hannah will just give it a quick spruik.
Thank you, Suzanne. Yeah, if you haven't heard of the program, I'll just briefly explain what it is we do. So it is a program offered to all Yarra Ranges residents. We have an amazing team of volunteers. They're our garden guides. Their knowledge is amazing and always developing with every visit they make. They can visit your garden. They can talk to you about your likes and dislikes. So any areas that you want to bolster as native vegetation might already be quite developed, but you might want to add a bit to it, or any areas that you're concerned about, such as weeds or anything like that. They can give advice, and they'll walk through the garden with you. And then later on, they will provide you with a garden report. So a week to 2 weeks after they visit, they'll provide a garden report with some recommendations. They'll also touch on things such as garden features like ponds, frog bogs, having rocks in your garden for your reptiles, having logs in the garden to help direct water, to provide habitat for insects, that sort of thing. And it's free to join. You can simply go onto the Yarra Ranges website and search for Gardens for Wildlife, and you can register your interest. And from there, you'll be able to book one of those visits with one of our guides. When they visit you, you also get a free plant voucher for 10 Indigenous tube stock from one of our local Indigenous nurseries. And you'll also get a weed brochure and a native plant brochure as well. And like I said, the garden report after the visit too, which has a lot of useful resources and information on it as well. So certainly worth considering. We understand in Yarra Ranges that there's native gardens, combination of native and exotic gardens. And that's perfectly okay. We're just here to provide advice and information on how we can make our gardens more attractive to our local wildlife. I think that about summarises it.
That's with it. So the URL's down the bottom, or you just go to our website and search Gardens for Wildlife and that'll come up.
I answered a few of the questions while you were running through more inspiration on nature journaling, and we just had a lot of people thanking us for this morning and for feeling inspired. One comment in particular was really lovely. Karen said she's in the garden all the time, but she's in there to maintain, weed and prune. She rarely pauses to observe. So it's awesome to hear that we may have sparked another interest in another way for you guys to spend time in your gardens. Yeah, we've got a lot
It's
of
also
thank
another way to
yous.
spend time in your garden on a rainy, wet day, because if you've taken photos or you've grabbed bits and bobs out of your garden, you can be inside journaling on a day like today where you wouldn't be out in the garden. But I think also what we covered earlier was it will also help you see over time the changes that are happening in your garden. I know in my own garden, just by pulling out a couple of big camellias and replacing it with a lot of smaller plants, natives, indigenous, that the amount of birds and bugs that were never in my garden before that come now is just amazing. Unfortunately, I haven't journaled my garden changes, but I'm doing it now.
Yeah, better late than never. And that's saying something, given that we are in Croydon South, and yeah, it's quite suburban, I would say, compared to areas of the Yarra Ranges, but we still see some really beautiful bird species coming through. So yeah.
So I can imagine there's some people in the Yarra Ranges that would just have magnificent gardens and an amazing array of wildlife joining, coming in and out of their gardens. The possibilities for nature journaling for them is just amazing. And I hope that we have inspired you to keep going with your journal. And the folder for sharing will be open forever, so you can just upload at any time. So if you do something in the next couple of weeks, some journaling, feel free to upload them to that Gmail folder, and we'll check in periodically. If you use Instagram, use the hashtag.
And thanks everybody at home who joined us, and we hope that you really enjoyed it.